Neuroendocrine cancer is a condition. Mine has metastasised, so it's spread from where the primary source was into my liver. At this stage, that is where it is contained. It hasn't gone anywhere else or appeared anywhere else. Primary was found post finding the metastasised cancer, so I'm a little bit different to some people. Sometimes the primary is found and then they notice that it has already spread to other organs in the body, whereas for me, we stumbled across the metastasised cancer in the liver looking for heart condition, which was what I thought and what the doctor thought the symptoms were generated from, but it was the neuroendocrine cancer that was causing it. Fortunately for me, once we'd found the metastasised cancer to the liver, the primary cancer in my bowel decided to cause a bowel obstruction, which meant we found it and they took it out under emergency surgery. It appears now, and looking back, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, a lot of the things that you tend to carry, maybe it's predominantly a male thing too, that we ignore a lot of aches and pains and just get on with it and say, yeah, that's just that, or I lifted something heavy the other day, that's why my back's sore. But some of these symptoms now, looking back, you go, yes, that's what it was, and we can go back as far as 2009 where we think it was already present and causing some issues. You need to pay a bit of attention to your body, and my recent experience with my gallbladder being removed, which is completely unrelated according to the doctors, it was identical in terms of symptoms and pain. So I thought, oh, we've got another cancer, and was going into a bit of mental panic mode, but it turns out it was a gallbladder that had decided that it was no longer required. So in 2009, when I presented with exactly the same symptoms as 2020, they were looking for ulcers and for constipation, severe constipation, which didn't occur to be. So then we had a few other investigative measures to follow and we couldn't find anything, and the symptoms dissipated to a degree. So we just went on with life. And meanwhile, it was tinkering away with my lymph system and obviously spreading across the liver between then. Can't be sure with any of this, but if we'd found it in 2009, it may not have metastasised, which means I would be just on watch and wait now because I have cancer, but they'd removed the primary and it hadn't spread, so I would be in a better situation than I am now. I'm a bit of a control freak and like to control things that I can control, and it takes a while for you to identify that this is not something you can control anyway. One, because it's incurable, and two, everybody's cancer behaves differently, so you're never quite sure whether it is going to pop up somewhere else or whether it's not, and it can pop up anywhere, and it could be a completely different cancer, or like the gallbladder, it could be a completely different condition that has nothing to do with the cancer. You can't be too single-minded that this is the only thing you're suffering from. You have to look after your health holistically, physically and mentally. I tried to do a lot of things by myself. I went and got the diagnosis alone. Probably not a good idea. You hear the first words, you've got cancer, and then you don't hear another word after that. You probably should record all of these meetings just so that you can listen to them again and again to make sure you've heard everything that the physician says. So yeah, you try and wear it all on your shoulders, and sometimes that's not quite best for you. And I mentioned mentally, I do seek a counsellor because there's things you need to understand your mortality, and certainly in the military we addressed it in a particular way, but this is another way, and I'm a bit older now, and so I'm not as bulletproof as I was when I was in my 20s. To be always aggressive and always on a attack footing is not necessarily a healthy way to exist. You need to sometimes let it go so that you can still live the life you've got. So you have to sort of address all of these issues. It'd be nice to think that whoever tells you that you have cancer could hand something to you and say, here's a list of things that you should do now. In the way it looks, it could be 30 or 40 pages, but one of the first things is to get in contact with Neuroendocrine Cancer Australia, because they have net nurses who can give you correct advice straight away, and they are in possession of lists of things for your local area that you can access straight away. And it's fairly important. So getting the right information and getting people to understand and educating those that don't should be priority one. At the moment, the main treatment for me is every 28 days. I would get the injection from the hospital pharmacy, and then I would go to my GP and have him do it. That was fine for a little while, but we saw that this was going to impact a lot with how we just lived our lives. And it was fortunate again, Neuroendocrine Cancer advised us that my wife could be trained to give me the injection. The 3 monthly review that they've got me on now, I'm very comfortable with. It's enough time between that you can let go of thinking about it too much, and then the 3 months you do your bloods. So it gives you more flexibility for movement. Went away to the Grampians last week. We took the injection with us in the car fridge to remain cold. And then when Friday came around, we took it out and she performed the injection in the holiday camp. Nobody quite understands it the same way as those that are experiencing it. NeuroEndocrine Cancer Australia has the Facebook page where we can post our particular issues, whether it be administration-wise through the medical system, you're not finding the flow of information, not finding your GPs getting the reports from the hospital, not finding your MyGov has been updated as regularly as it should. It's a wonderful tool. Then you've got the humorous side. We also have the Nutters group on Facebook, which are we're just toilet humour. Those things bounce off each other and help you to get a guidance. We also have a lot of groups that still meet because it just helps you put a name to a face to some comments, see other people and how they're coping. You can tell just by the way people arrive in those meetings whether they're at least getting a quality of life that's of value by following that process. And others need that help. They need that shoulder to lean on. Again, a reason why I do things like this. I think it's only fair to help those that might not be able to cope with it as well as I may.